The structure pop quiz. Any doubt? Question 1. Question 1, any doubt? B2 and 3. First, ultimate tensile stress. What is the meaning of the term ultimate tensile stress? Because when we apply the force, the object will stretch. The maximum stretch which we apply on the object, so that is known as the UTS or ultimate tensile stress. And stress is also the force acting on. So first we'll work out what is the maximum force from the graph. So this is the maximum force which we are applying, which is 60 here. And divided by the area is given. This is the cross-sectional area given. So it will be 60 divided by 7.9 into 10 to the power minus 7. That will give us the stress, the UTS. Why we took the maximum force? Because in UTS, we take the maximum force which applied on the object. Then Young's modulus is stress over strain. So this is a graph for the length. So how to work out because if you need the Young's modulus is the stress over strain. The stress, the UTS, we already worked out, force on area. So we have this. What about the strain? Strain is change in length over original length. So how much the length has changed? As you can see here, this is 3. Originally, this is extension graph. So originally it was 0 and now 3. And 3 into 10 to the power minus 4 is the change in length. And the original length was 0.24. So this will give 0.24. That will give us the strain. Remember, strain does not have any unit. So after getting the stress and the strain, when you divide them, that will give us the value for the Young's modulus or value of the Young's modulus. And the maximum energy stored. So how to work out the energy stored? So you have to take area under the graph. Now force is on x-axis, force is on x-axis and extension on y-axis. So which area I will take? I will take area of this part. It is making a triangle, forming a triangle. When it is forming a triangle, I can take area of any part. It won't make difference. So it will be half base into height. So base is 60. And what about the height? Like base is 3 exponent minus 4 and the height is 60. So when you multiply, you get how much energy will be stored. Question 2, any doubts? Question 3. Question 2 or question 3, any doubt? A student state the Newton's first law of motion if there is no external force. If there is no external force, there will be no motion. Criticize this statement. First thing, external, this is not the correct term. It should be, there should be no resultant force. And if there is no resultant force, there is no motion. Why this is wrong? It can either, like, because if there is no resultant force, then two possibilities are there. The object might be at rest, or object might move at a constant speed. So both possibilities are there. Whenever, so how we criticize this statement or identify the mistakes? So instead of using the external force, we can use the term resultant force. And no motion is not always true, because whenever there is no resultant force, the object might be at rest or object might move at a constant speed. So no motion is why it's not correct, because if you say no motion means it does not move. But it is not possible if there is no resultant force. Yes, the object, a moving object, if there is no resultant force, it will continue to move with a constant speed. So in the question, explain why pulling a trolley at a certain distance required a person to do a less work than pushing in the same distance. So when a person is pulling, force of a person on a trolley, this is the contact forces are given. So when a person is applying, like example, a person is applying a force like this, okay? So this force will have the two components. What are the two components of the force? There will be a horizontal component and there will be a vertical component, which is downward. As a result, if there is a vertical component which is downward, this vertical component of the weight, the total downward force increases because weight is there plus another vertical component due to pushing. So the total downward force increases. When the total downward force increase, the object will have a greater downward force. So as a result, it will experience more friction because more surface area will be there in contact. Like as a result, there will be more friction. So as there is more friction, a person need more force to do the same work done. That is why, like example, if there's a box and you're pushing the box like this, so what will happen? This force will have the two component. One will be the horizontal component. Another one is a vertical component. That vertical component, which is downward, and weight of the box is also acting downward. So the box is having a greater downward force. As a result, means greater area in contact with the surface. So what will happen? The friction will increase. Means you have to apply, you have to overcome the friction to apply more force. But when you're pulling an object, so what will happen? There is a horizontal force and the vertical force. This vertical force is opposite to the weight. So as a result, the downward force decreases. So when the downward force decreases, so the area in the contact will also decrease. So the friction, because the friction depends on the downward force. If the object is heavy, more area in contact, so it will have a greater friction. So as a result, less downward force, so the less friction. So less friction means it will be much more easy to do a work. Is it clear? The two diagrams and how the work done or applying a force or pushing or pulling will make a difference. So yeah, you can mention because of friction of direction of the friction of the wheel. You can compare the direction of the friction of the wheel, or you can compare the direction of the whole friction, like the resultant friction. Definitely, as the wheel are rotating in this way, the direction of the friction in this. So remember in general, whenever, like example, if I have two objects of same size but different masses, two objects having a same size but different mass. This is 2 kilogram, this is say 5 kilogram. When I try to push these objects, which object will have a greater friction? So the one which is heavy will have a more friction and the one which is lighter will have a less friction. So same thing happen here. When we apply a force, there will be a horizontal and the vertical force. So this one, there is more downward force. So the friction of the whole system will be higher. This one, there's upward and like horizontal and the vertical force. So vertical force is opposite to the weight. So this will experience a less friction relatively. So if you pull a trolley, it will be easy to pull as compared to push a trolley. So next time when you visit any supermarket, try this. Pushing and pulling, which makes it easy to move. In question 3, the boat reaches the south of a river bank at Y. Determine the distance between X and Y. So how we can determine this? 7.5 meter. 7.5 meter is this distance and the vertical speed is 1. So we can work out what we can do. First, we can work out, this can be done in different manners. I can work out the component. First, I will work out the time here. Or there's also another way, like using a vector diagram. This is 1.1 and this is 0.55. So first I will work out the resultant. The direction of the resultant means angle of the resultant. This angle is theta. So how I can work out, because this is with an angle, so this will be a base, and opposite to the angle, this will be perpendicular. So I will use a trigonometric ratio, but for this question, multiple ways are there to solve this same question. This is one of the method. You can also first work out the time, and from that time you work out the distance. That will also work. So tangent theta is perpendicular. If I'm using this angle with a vertical, so this is a base and this is a perpendicular. So what is it is perpendicular divided by base, so 0.55 divided by 1.1. What is the answer for this? Theta equals tan inverse 0.55 divided by 1.1. What's the answer for this one? 26.6. So 26.6 degrees means that this angle will be 26.6 degrees. So 26.6 degrees will be the angle. And now we use the distance because these were the speeds given. So I work out the direction of the resultant speed, and the direction of the resultant speed and the direction of the resultant velocity will be same. But in the question, we need this distance xy. We need this distance xy. And what about this distance? This one is 75 meters. So first I use the speed to work out the angle, and the angle of the resultant velocity and the angle of the displacement will be same. So if this distance is 75, like I have a right angle triangle, this angle is 26.6 degrees and this was 75 meter. I need this distance, x and y. So again, I will use a trigonometric ratio. Like I have the base, which is 75, and I need a perpendicular. So again, I will use a tangent theta. Tangent theta is perpendicular divided by base. So it will be 10, 26.6. Perpendicular, we don't know, which is xy, and the base is 75. 75 is divided, other side multiply. So 26.6 degrees, 10, 26.6 multiplied by 75. That will be 37. So this will be 37.6 meters. That is one way of doing the question. 37.6 meter, that's one way of doing the question. There's also another way. What is another way? Like first, what you will do, you will find how much time this will take to cover this distance 75. So speed is distance divided by time. So time is distance divided by speed. The distance is 75 and the speed is 1.1. So 75 divided by 1.1, that will give us how much time it will take to reach the bank, which is 62.2 or 62 seconds. So means it will take 68 seconds, sorry. 68 seconds. So this will take 68 seconds to reach. And we know the horizontal velocity of 0.55. So if a horizontal velocity is 0.55, because the resultant velocity will be like this. But the time to cover, if it has a vertical velocity of 1.1 and this distance was 75, so it will take 68 seconds to reach this. So we know the horizontal velocity and we know the time, so we can work out the distance. Speed is distance divided by time, so distance speed multiplied by time. So speed is 0.55 and the time is equals to 68. So 0.55 times 68, that will also give us the same result, which is about 37. So this will also 37.5 meters. So we get the same answer. First, we work out the time, and then from that time and speed, we multiply, we got the distance. So both methods are acceptable. Even you can use a Pythagoras theorem to work out the resultant velocity first. You can use a Pythagoras theorem to work out the resultant, like this velocity here, and then work out the time and time multiplied by velocity. So different methods are acceptable for this same question. Now we'll start the topic.